She stepped out for a simple morning hike under a bright Arizona sun. Within minutes, she vanished. Hours later, her body was found, brutally stabbed, left in the open. But the most chilling part, cameras captured a man following her, step by step, until she disappeared forever. This wasn't random. This was something far more twisted.
She definitely had the ability to change anybody's life.
The morning of April 28, 2023, began like any other for Lauren Heike. It was her day off, a small break from routine, and she planned to spend it doing something she loved, hiking under the open sky. Before even getting out of bed, she sent a message in a group chat she shared with her brother and close friends. Something they did every day, a simple habit of gratitude. That morning, Lauren said she was thankful for a peaceful cup of coffee and the chance to go hiking. There was nothing unusual about it, nothing that hinted this would be her final message. She texted her boyfriend Carlos, letting him know her plans. He told her he'd be at the gym and asked her to message him when she was done. It was a routine exchange, the kind couples don't think twice about. Then Lauren left her apartment, and from that moment on, she was never heard from again. For the next 24 hours, her phone went silent. Calls went unanswered, messages unread. At first, it didn't seem alarming. Maybe she lost signal, maybe she got busy. But as hours passed, unease turned into fear. By the next morning, when Lauren failed to show up for work, her manager reported her missing. Around the same time, another call came into 911. A passerby had made a horrifying discovery in the desert near Reach 11 Trail, a woman's body, lying motionless. She was dressed in workout clothes. One shoe was missing, her hair blonde.
Phoenix 911, where is your emergency?
Oh, I just found a woman's body out in the desert, and I was just going for a walk, and she's there. I didn't touch her, I didn't feel safe, but it looks like she's been there for a while.
The caller didn't get close. They didn't need to. Something was terribly wrong. Police quickly connected the dots. The location of the body was less than a mile from Lauren's apartment. Even more chilling, it was also less than a mile from a police station. This wasn't some isolated wilderness. This was a known hiking trail, equipped with cameras, visited regularly by locals. When authorities confirmed the identity, the reality hit hard. The body belonged to 29-year-old Lauren Heike, but what they discovered next would shock even seasoned investigators. Lauren hadn't just been killed, she had been brutally attacked, stabbed more than 15 times. Some wounds were deep, deliberate, violent. The pattern suggested rage, or something far more disturbing, even more unsettling. She had been attacked from behind. This detail changed everything. Most crimes of passion involve confrontation, face-to-face violence. But this was different. This was predatory, calculated, silent, and yet Lauren fought back. Evidence at the scene showed signs of resistance. She struggled, tried to escape, did everything she could to survive. But her attacker didn't stop. The brutality raised immediate questions. Who would do this, and why? Investigators began with the obvious. Her boyfriend, Carlos. But everything about his behavior pointed in the opposite direction. He was cooperative, devastated, and his alibi checked out completely. Gym footage placed him far from the scene. His phone record showed repeated attempts to contact Lauren, growing more desperate with time. He was ruled out.
It was traumatizing, it definitely was. To have someone question you and ask you these hard questions.
Next, they looked at the friend who was supposed to meet her that morning, but his story held. A last-minute work obligation had kept him away, and messages confirmed he had told Lauren he couldn't make it. Another dead end. At this point, the case was chilling, not just because of the violence, but because of the setting. A public trail, broad daylight, no clear suspect. But then, everything changed. Investigators began reviewing hundreds of surveillance videos from the area, hours of footage, frame by frame. And then they saw it. At 10:29 a.m., Lauren appeared on camera, leaving her apartment. She looked calm, unaware, just beginning her walk. Minutes later, another camera captured her continuing along her route. Then, at 10:37, a man appeared. He matched no one investigators had considered so far. Thin build, medium complexion, wearing a black cap, glasses, gray shirt, dark pants, and carrying a black and red backpack. At first, it meant nothing. Until the next clip, Lauren appeared again, walking the same path, and just 2 minutes later, the same man followed. Closer this time. Then, at 10:53 a.m., Lauren disappeared from camera view. Moments later, the man reappeared, running, fleeing the area. That was the moment everything shifted. This wasn't random. This was a hunt. The man had followed Lauren step by step, watched her, close the distance, and then, in a moment, hidden from cameras, ended her life. Police released the footage to the public, asking for help identifying the suspect. They described him in detail, hoping someone would recognize him. But behind the scenes, something even bigger was unfolding. DNA evidence recovered from Lauren's shoes had already been analyzed, and it matched someone in the criminal database. Investigators now had a name, but instead of revealing it immediately, they made a strategic decision. They kept it quiet, building their case, gathering more evidence. At the same time, they encouraged Lauren's family to speak publicly, to plead for information. And they did. Standing before cameras, her family shared who Lauren truly was. Not just a victim, but a person full of life. Kind, loving. Someone who ended every call with "I love you." Someone who trusted people, maybe too much. Their grief was raw. Their words carried weight, and the public responded. Tips flooded in. Many people reported seeing a man matching the suspect's description around the area before the attack.
Noticed a guy that looks vaguely familiar to the guy on the news that killed a 29-year-old lady.
That man was identified as Zion William Teasley. He lived less than half a mile from the trail. That detail alone sent chills through investigators. This wasn't coincidence. Zion had a troubling past. Years earlier, he had faced multiple felony charges, including armed robbery, kidnapping, and assault. Though many charges were dropped in a plea deal, he still served time in prison and was released on probation just months before Lauren's murder. After his release, his behavior didn't improve. He was fired from a job for aggressive conduct toward female co-workers and theft. Employees later confirmed that the clothes he wore in the surveillance footage matched items stolen from their store. The pattern was clear: escalation, aggression, obsession, but one question remained. Why Lauren? Investigators moved quickly. When they discovered Zion had purchased a one-way ticket to Detroit just days after the murder, they knew time was running out. He was arrested before he could leave. At first, he denied everything, claimed he wasn't the man in the footage, but when confronted with DNA evidence, his story collapsed. He confessed, but his motive was as disturbing as the crime itself. He told investigators he was driven by jealousy, that he wished he could be like Lauren, that he struggled deeply with his identity and felt conflicted by his beliefs. It was a twisted explanation, one that didn't fully answer the brutality. 15 stab wounds, a relentless attack. It felt like more than jealousy. It felt like obsession. And then, another shocking revelation emerged. A woman came forward, recognizing Zion from the news. Years earlier, in 2020, she had been attacked in a nearly identical way, stabbed by a man who forced his way into her apartment. She survived, but at the time, no arrest was made. Now she identified Zion as her attacker. The similarities were impossible to ignore. Same weapon, same method, Same target. Women. This wasn't random. This was a pattern. As investigators pieced everything together, a darker picture formed. Zion may have been watching Lauren long before that morning, learning her routine, waiting for the right moment. The hoodie in the heat, the sunglasses, the knife. None of it suggested spontaneity. It suggested preparation, premeditation. Today, Zion William Teasley sits in jail, awaiting trial. His bond set high, his release denied. Prosecutors are building their case, and if convicted, he could face the death penalty. But even as the legal process moves forward, one question lingers. Was Lauren chosen at random, or was she specifically targeted? The evidence leans toward something far more chilling. A predator. Watching, waiting, and finally, acting. Lauren set out that morning to enjoy a simple hike, a moment of peace, a break from life. She never came home. And in the bright light of day, on a trail meant for safety and escape, something dark was waiting. Something that had been there all along.